Welcome, Umberto. Yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Uh, Today, we're happy that Andres Court is going to be presenting Tanstack Start. So he's going to tell us more about what that is, how it can help you as developers, and it's going to take us through and show us some examples of its benefits. So with that. I'll turn it over to you, Andres. But at any point in the presentation, if you have any questions or any observations of your own, where you can speak up or you can type them in the Google Meet chat. Uh, so, Andres, it's all yours.
Thank you, Jim. So today we're going to be talking about Tanstack Start. It's a full stack framework that's based on the Tanstack router and is kind of a replacement for Next. So with that being said, let's get started. We're going to try to make somewhat this app that I have here. We have a home and we have some posts, and we can look at different posts. We can look at the post, go back, and we can create new posts. And this is all going back to the database and saving all the data there. And so if we go back to the database, we can see we select start from post. We have all the posts. So we've been interacting with the database and all within the Tanstack application. So let's create a new Tanstack Start application. For that, we have a command. I like using npm. You can use the npm or whatever package manager you like to use. There's a command called create. Here is router app at latest, and we have to pass the add-ons so we can choose whatever we need. This will effectively be creating the application. I'm going to call this Chingu Roundtable Tanstack Start them. And here, the router file type is going to be a file router. We're going to be using Tailwind. Toolchain. In this case, I'm not going to use this, but this lets you choose between Biome and ESLint and Prettier. In my projects, I tend to use Biome more. And then we can add several things to the application. We can add a clerk for authentication, convex. I haven't used it. Tanstack form is what I've been using to manage the forms on my apps lately. Netlify is for locally deploying to Netlify. I don't really use that. Sentry for it specifies there, shuts in. We can add start, store is Tanstack store is replacement for Redux. And you have Tanstack query that we're not going to use in this case. And there's examples that you can add, but we're not going to add it. While it's installing, we have if Tanstack Start is built on top of Tanstack Router, and it's mostly Tanstack Router with some back server functionalities. And one of the neat things that you have full type safety on your routes. So we have here post one, and we give that. And if we put something that's not a number here, uh, we get this invalid post. It gives us an error, and that gives us from the editor all the way to the server. So I think that's very powerful. So let's see how is this takes a while because it's downloading all the packages and installing and setting up everything. So let's give it a second. Uh, while we're waiting, any questions? Any ideas that you have of Tanstack Start prior to this? Okay, ATK, no problem. So, Tanstack Start is still on beta. So we go back to here and we can go to the documentation. And it says here that's on beta, and yeah, that's one of the reasons I'm not using it for my applications because it's in beta. And there are two ways to install the one we're using. And there's this build from scratch section on the Tanstack Start page that it guides you from just npm init and adding all the packages, all the things by yourself. It's very good. It makes you understand a little bit how the application works. And I think it's worth it if you have the time to go through all of these. And if you go through all these steps, you will have. One of the things that's been used here, they are using Vinci as a instead of bits, but that's something that that the team it says it will be removed before session 1.0. So let's see how it goes. I've never heard of it before. Uh, That's final. Let's give it a couple more seconds. Okay. Here it also warns us that Tanstack Start is not yet at 1. All the things that I said about it being in beta, it's alerting you everywhere, and that's why I'm not using it yet. So let's go to Chingu Roundtable, and let's PNPM dev. PNPM says we have to do PNPM dev. Sorry. Was on the wrong directory. And if we run this, we have the Tanstack Start application. We have the home page and all the things that were added for us here. So this is the skeleton of the applications. But now let's go to here. And on NewBeam, we're going to start by looking at the package JSON. As I told you, it's using Vinci. and using bytes to testing. These radix are for ShadCN, Tailwind, React Form, React Router. These are these two lines are for React Router, Tanstack Start, and all the things that we told it to start. SOD is installed here, so we have that for types validation, and I think this is pretty self-explanatory. Um, then we have the routes folder, where we have several file names here, and the file name will actually give you the path in the browser. So we have the index will be the home route. This demo dot form dot address will be here. This page demo form address. So that's one way they work. I find it hard to read this way. I prefer using folders. So you can also say demo and index. Um, so now we have this page. This code is auto-generated for us, and we have that demo page. So if we go to demo, now we have our demo page. So I think that's an easier way to create a new route. So let's go back to the index. First, we go to the root. This is the home where all the things are. The layout is held. We give our meta tags. We link here the CSS. We give the HTML tag, add the head content, all the things that you need to work with TSX. And Tanstack Start works with 4 files mainly. That's around your root. The first is the router TSX. This reads that router folder and will convert those, and we'll read those routes and we'll deploy it. And here on these last lines here, we have that magic happens that we have all the type safety we need with our routes. The other one is the client. Here we start the client and all the things that there, and SSR, everything that is needed with this. So those are the main files. There's one other file that's used. That's this route 3gen. This is a auto-generated route file. Sorry, that's that Tanstack router uses to know about the routes. So every time we create a new file on the route on the routes folder, this file will be updated. In order for it to be updated, you have to have the server running. So if we close the server and go to our routes folder and go to the demo, new file, new TSX, and we create this new file. Nothing is being generated, but if we start the server, we have everything set up for us. A question so far?
Yeah, I have a question. This looks very interesting. This seems like it's a nice blend between file-based routing and code-based routing. Is it allowed? Can you modify this routing file to make changes?
If you modify the route tree file, it will be overwritten every time you create a new file.
Ah, okay, okay, cool. Thanks.
So it's a automatic. Even it says on the top. My comments are a little bit dim, but it says this file was automatically generated by Tanstack router. You should not make any changes in this file as it will be overwritten. You should additionally you should also exclude this file from your linted, art, or formatted to prevent it from being checked or modified. So it recommends you shouldn't touch this file at all.
Yeah, I still like that because sometimes with file-based routing and other front ends, it's guesswork sometimes to figure out, what's the routing actually, or what is the routing. But this is a very nice feature that it explicitly shows you the routing.
So going to the header component, I'm going to show you something. So if I here I have um, a demo. I have all the addresses I can use. Demo start, and for example, if I put here and some uh, non-existent, I get a TypeScript error. So yeah, that way you have something to fix when you uh, when you are adding routes. Um, so this is was demo form, a simple form. Okay, so that's one of the things that you have with Tanstack Router, that you can add a simple form. Now let's add some database. For that, I'm going to be using Prisma. So and I wish they would have changed their documentation. They haven't yet. Uh, you can use they have a Tanstack Start, how to install, and here you install Tanstack, and you install here Prisma. But on the last roundtable, we found some issues working on how they are saying, and there's an issue with the current version of Prisma. So uh, let's add Prisma, pnpm add Prisma at 6.5.0. Save exact. If I'm not okay. So I'm installing version 6.5 because it's the one that works, and 6.6, the current version, is not working. It will constantly be telling me that we have issues with there's a new version. It will be always telling me that, but uh, we can go through all the steps. And sorry, I'm not in my directory. Setting table. Uh, okay. So here pm Prisma 5. save exactly. Okay, so we installed Prisma. Now let's say init, do the Prisma init. So pnpm Prisma init. If I can type. Now let's go and add a connection to the URL. Okay, so let me add this first before we continue further. Let's deploy the application as is to Netlify. Let me let's go here to GitHub. Uh, and I'm going to copy the URL and we say pnp git remote add origin. I'm going to paste this. Okay, and I'm going to make a git push force. I don't have any commits yet. Uh, uh, I need to force it because I'm replacing that's one thing that the Tanstack Start application starter does. It cannot yet be on an existing project, so you need to first push it and remove everything. So if we go back here, we have the initial commit, and if we go here, it's going to be building, and I'm expecting it to fail right now because we haven't said it has to be uh, deployed here on Netlify, and we are using the Chingu, the Chingu, I forgot the name. We're using the Chingu organization, and that's one thing over next that you can depend on Netlify Chingu organization, so you don't have to do the workaround in order to be deploying your application. So that's one thing that's important to know. So as you can see, we have a failure deployment. How do we fix it? Let's go back to the documentation. And here we have on the hosting link. It's very easy. They say that on the app config, we need to add these lines. Okay. Let's go to the app config. And here we need to add server. We need to say preset Netlify. And now we can say git status, git commit. deploy to net. And we can push them. Now we'll start a new deployment. And this time I'm expecting it to work. Let me see if we're not going to have any build issues. We should not have any problems because it's building. So, well, it's done. Deployment. Let's continue with the process. I have created I have a schema for this. If we say we have a post and everything with Prisma, so if we go back here, we can run pnpm Prisma db pool. And let's go.
You get 3 hours for the entire iStar, not just for traffic calling.
Sorry, I didn't get you. Can you repeat the question? Yeah, well, I didn't get the question. If you can repeat it, I will address it. Okay. So now it's already deployed, and we can open the production deploy, and we can see what we have done so far with the application. So it's that easy to be deploying the application in the Chingu organization. So where were we? So now we have created our Prisma files that it will have all the things that Prisma files have, and we have to call pnpm Prisma generate. Now that we have everything here, we can continue with how Prisma works, and we can go. Let's go to our source, our routes. Let's go to our. Let's create a post index. And let's here create. Now we're going to be interacting with the server only. So we say const get all posts equals create server server function. And here you can pass an object, and the object has a method, and you can say either a post or a get. If you don't specify a method, it will assume it's a get method. So I'm not going to pass anything. And now we say we need a handler. Okay. And the handler is going to be a function. And we're just console log here. Get all posts. Let's, I can type console log. And here we can say, Tanstack Start has a Tanstack router actually has a loader function. That's a function. And here we can call to get all posts. Okay. So let's go back to our browser and here, and let's go back to our posts. And let's see our console. Here on the browser, we have nothing. And let's go here. And here on the server, we have our get all posts console log. That means that this code is never executed on the client and always executed on the server. So it's you can there pass any secrets that it will not be leaked to the client. So so now we can say const prisma equals new prisma client, and this has to be import prisma from prisma client, and here we can say return prisma dot post find many. Okay, and here we say const post equals, and let's console, and let's console log our posts. So now let's refresh this page. What we have here. Sorry, Jim, I just saw your question. Does it not support other methods than HTTP? It's like it's like the form in HTML that it only supports get and post. So if you need to make a delete, you will make a post request, and on the backend you will process the delete. I don't know if that answers your question. Okay. So let's see. So I forgot this loader needs to be an async function, and here we need to await. I was getting an error because we were not awaiting. So we are getting all the posts, and let's go back here and let's use that. So here we're going to say const posts. This is on the component. We're going to use from the routes object that we're using here. There's a use loader data function that will return us everything that we're returning here on the loader. So if we console here our posts, we have the array here on with all the objects, and now we can say make a UL and say here post dot map, and now we have everything here. So that way, now we have all the posts on the front end. Let's query to one post. Let's create. Inside our posts route, we're going to create a new $ID.tsx. This $sign is the one that is telling you this is a path parameter, and that way we create a dynamic routes. And And let's go here, go to, and we have our posts. Now let's go, let's be able to navigate there. And we can create a link component. It's important, it has to be from the React Router component. We're going to make a link. Let's close the link. Okay, but we need something here. The link component has to have a to, and here we can say to our posts ID. We say to our post ID. We're still having an error because we're saying there's a placeholder here, and we need to pass the post ID. So we need to say pass the params, and this is an object. That's the ID, and we're going to say post.id. Oh, but I'm still having an error. Why? Because our post ID, the number, and the ID is expecting that we send a string. So how do we fix that? We have to go to our $ID, and on our component, we created params object. And inside here, we need to parse, and we get that raw params. And this we can return. We need to return an object where if we had more path parameters, we have to be adding here to the object, and we're going to say ID, and we're going to say plus raw params.id. That's the easiest way to convert the string to a number. So that's why I'm using here. So if we go back to our posts index, the type error is gone. So now we're expecting a number, and we're passing a number. So we always get these things of type safety all around our router that I think it's very useful when once developing. So now that we have our raw params, we can get the loader and have an async function, so I don't forget. And we receive the params, and we can say console log params dot, and we have the ID here. And should be no surprise, we are also know that this is a number. So now let's query the post to get just one the selected post. So const get post will create server function. It's still going to be a get request, but we now need to pass a validator. A validator function. And the validator function will receive a data parameter of type unknown. And here we will be returning let's go here and say const post ID equals the from sod dot number. So here we can say we can return post ID dot parse data. So that way we ensure to the next part that we are going to have a number, and then we have our handler that it will need to pass this is a async function, and we're going to receive a data, and this data parameter is a number, and we can say this and call this ID. So now we have the parameter going to be called ID. That's TypeScript sugar, syntactic sugar, so we can work easier. We have better variable names, and I forgot here to add const Prisma equals new Prisma client, and here we can say return await Prisma dot post dot find unique, and say here where, and we say ID. So now we're finding the unique ID, and on our loader we get the post, and here we don't use. This is the only thing I don't really like. We need to pass the data parameter and say params.id. Now I hope I don't know how to change this from being data to be anything else. I haven't been able to find, but that's the one thing that I uh, don't really like. And finally, here we cannot get our posts from the use loaded data, and here we can say a post dot title, and that way, if we go back here and we click the data, so we're getting this error because it can be undefined, and the loaded data should not be received undefined. So we can add here, this is also from React Router, a not found component, and let's pass a component that says not found. Let's give it post not found. And if we say if not post, meaning that we don't find any post, return, there's a not found function from React Router that will send that, will throw that, sorry, we should throw this error. We throw a not found error, and now we don't have anything, and our post here, you will always have a post. So if we reload it, we now hello new post, and we can go back and go to test and hello test, and if we have a different number, we have a post not found. And finally, we have a error component that we have something went wrong, and if I put a not valid ID, we get something went wrong. Everything done automatically. So at a glance, this is Tanstack Start, where you can add this functionality. You have this type safety. Any questions?
Yeah, I have one. I don't know if you've worked with Next.js, but or other, similar packages, but how does how do you think that Tanstack Start is uh, comparing to those technologies, those libraries?
I've used on the past Next, and that's the only full stack framework I've used in the past. So comparing to that, um, Next is a very closed application stack. So in order to get all the functionality, you have to deploy to Vercel. You with Tanstack Start in that hosting, you can see you can deploy to Netlify, you can easily deploy to Vercel, to Cloudflare Pages, as a node server with van or whatever you want to deploy with. That gives you a lot of freedom where to deploy and can choose wherever you want to deploy. That's one thing. Also, all that thing on Next.js, you don't have that the type safety we have here, or at least as when I used to work with Next. I don't know if they have now. You don't have the routes type safety you have with Next, even with React Router. Until version 6, you didn't have this type safety. So those are pros that for me are important to highlight. Uh, yes, you can deploy Next application on your own server, but you have to jump through hoops to be able to deploy it in other places rather than Vercel. So yeah, that's the main thing. Also here, Next, you can have here, these are all client components. There are no server components. There's no use server, use client as you have in Next. That I myself find it very confusing. These are all client components, and you create a function that for readability here, I have it in the same file. You can create a server functions file and put all your server functions there and import them if you have the need to reuse them. But I like that the this create server function way of thinking that you have a server function that encapsulates all your server functionality. That's the other thing, and rather than the component be the one that tells you it's working on the client or it's working on the server. Yeah, those are the main things that I found difference. Hope that answered your question, Jim.
It does. Thank you. And did you see ATK had, I think, the same question?
Yeah, it's very similar. Tanstack is more than a framework right now. Tanstack as a whole is a suite of applications where you have Tanstack Start. That's what we were talking today. Tanstack Router. That's if you create a a bit application, you have Tanstack Router, and you have the router instead of the same router that we were using here, but without the server functionality. Tanstack Query, that's a Redux replacement. Tanstack Table is a headless UI table. I've been starting to use that. It's very easy to work. Even the ShadCN table relies on Tanstack Table. Tanstack Form is a replacement for React Hook Forms. I think that's, yeah, in my opinion, is better than React Hook Forms. Virtual, I don't know. Pacer and Store both are in alpha. Pacer is a, I forgot, rate limiting application. Have a store. And the great thing is that They try this to be as 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 agnostic as it can be. So you can use this with many of these. You can, for example, Tanstack Query. You can use it with Bit. You can use it with with Vue. You can use it with Svelte. You can use it with React. So it's library agnostic. That's one of the main things about this. Obviously, because they are the same group that's making all this. If you are working with a Tanstack application with React Query, it's very easy to integrate, and that makes it much easier to work with.
Have you seen any indication from the Tanstack Start team of when they think that they might be out of beta?
They're saying that sometime this year, but I'm not. I don't know really. As I said, I'm not using Tanstack Start for my apps. One, because they are in beta, and I don't like having my production applications with a beta framework. But also, I like. I haven't seen any use cases for me to use the create server function, because I like to have my front end and my back end decoupled. So I've been using Bit and React and Tanstack Router in my applications.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah. Yes, Nika, you can ask your
Yeah,
question.
good morning. I was wondering, so I've been hearing that Next.js has some security issues. So I was wondering whether Tanstack, basically the question is it like considered in Tanstack? Because I know that when we have the front end and a back end decoupled, we have more control over security, right? So I was wondering if Tanstack is like trustworthy in this sense.
So as of now, I haven't heard any security issues with Tanstack Start. I don't know if how heavily tested it has been so far, but as of today, I haven't heard any security issues. And also, the main issue with Next vulnerability, it wasn't the vulnerability itself. It was the slow pace they took to resolve that. That was the main issue people had with Vercel in that. Tanstack, the people working at Tanstack, I've seen issues being resolved very quickly as they've been presented. So maybe that would be the main issue, because all frameworks sooner or later will have some security issues, even though you have decoupled. In Go, you have security issues. On Rust, on C, on whatever language, you will always have security issues.
Okay.
It's impossible to cover them all.
Okay.
The important thing is how the team works to resolve them, I think.
Okay, thank you. That was very helpful. I appreciate it.
Okay.
Yeah, something else about Next.js. I don't want to jump on it. It's a good tool, and lots of production applications are using it very successfully. But they've been getting some negative press lately because of things like they've had a lot of breaking changes over the past year. And as Andre said, they've been little slower to respond to things like security issues and bug fixes. So I'm not saying don't use Next.js. What I'm really saying is, before you jump in and use it, you probably want to take a look at what its current state is and what its history is.
Yes, I also didn't say don't use Next, by the way. Just do your due diligence on researching whatever framework you want to use, its pros and cons, and with that you can make an informed decision. Any other questions? Any other things? Basically, this is what I had for us to go.
Yeah, this was very helpful. I enjoyed this one quite a bit, and I'm at the point I can't wait for them to get out of beta.
Yeah. As I said, I'm using Tanstack Router, and it's been a game changer for me from over React Router. It's a different way of thinking, but I like it more.
Yeah, I really liked that configuration, that static configuration setup, like in the create file route options. That really appealed to me because it's right there, it's easily readable, but it's very easy, as you showed, to put in things like error handling.
Yeah, and here there's something else you can add here is you can add a default preload on the router file, and you can say here intent. And I have this by default on my app. So what does this do? When I go here to my application, where am I? And I go to the post. If once I hover, it starts to run all the loader functionality. So it's more fast once you click. So it would be it's get all the posts before it's starting getting the post before I even click. So that's the idea. So as you can see here, it says type new post. It's getting all the posts. You see, I didn't click, and I got a new entry here on the server. So it made the query even before I clicked. So with that little change, just when I added this default preload intent on the router file.
Right.
And that makes a lot of difference with heavy query applications. You can add the queries there, and it will be snappier. So there's a lot of these tricks that you can enhance your application performance with.
Yeah, that's definitely a lot simpler than having to code that preload logic manually, which is what we've had to do in the past.
Yeah, and here it can be there's an explanation on the documentation, viewport intent render. I find the intent is most useful. So here, if false will not preload it. If intent will be preloaded by default when the user hovers over a link. And viewport routes will be preloaded by default when they are within the viewport, and so on and so on. So you have the definition right here on the documentation.
Nice.
So any other questions? If not any more questions about this or anything, we can give you guys your Saturday back.
Yeah, just a reminder for everyone, as Andre said, if you have any questions about not just this, but anything about Chingu or voyages or whatever, feel free to ask. Also, this coming week are two roundtables on Wednesday and next Saturday. Will be all about Voyage 55. So that'll be especially helpful for people that are if this is your first voyage that you'll be participating in. So, any questions, anyone, or feedback or observations about anything?
I just wanted to say that I got accepted into Team Forward, and I'm really excited.
Oh, cool! Congratulations. Yeah, you'll like working with Bahare and Tim and the other folks on the team. They're doing some really nice work.
Yeah, I'm so excited. I've seen their documentation. It's super thorough, so that's very exciting.
Yeah, cool. All right, if there's nothing else, we'll close this one out. Uh, Everyone have a great weekend. Remember tomorrow, if this is your first voyage, tomorrow is the solo project deadline. Uh, you only have to submit a solo project prior to your first voyage. If you've already done that for this voyage or a prior voyage, there's no need to repeat it. That's only required once. So, with that, thanks everyone. Thanks for your questions. And thanks, Andres, as always. This was a good one. I really enjoyed it. And we'll
Thanks,
close this
everyone.
one out.
A pleasure giving the roundtables, and hope you see you around on Chingu.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andres. Bye
Thank
bye,
you.
everyone.
Okay, bye, everybody.